Hello, dear subscribers. This article is taken from Now the End Begins. Men of Sin. Emmanuel Macron takes control, flies to Iraq to steer Middle East summit negotiating with the Taliban about Afghan evacuations. I partially agree that Emmanuel Macron is a candidate to being the man of sin. He has always aspired to occupy the seat of the Antichrist, but he is, as far as I know, a candidate to the Antichrist seat. A close competitor to making it to the Antichrist seat would undoubtedly be Obama, who has been instrumental in carrying on the Arab Spring after the Bush administration. And Obama is operating in the shadows behind the Biden presidency. We know that Obama never left Washington. He just moved a couple of blocks down the road from the Oval Office. And who has orchestrated this Afghan crisis? Supposedly, it's Sleepy Joe, but Sleepy Joe is just dead, sleepy, in dementia. So things are being orchestrated from the shadows to create instability in the Middle East, to create a crisis. And what the elites do best, well, they create chaos, they create crisis, they create an opportunity. And then, out of that crisis, they create a solution. And this is none any different. No matter what choices the Americans make, we will maintain our presence in Iraq to fight against terrorism, said Macron. We have the operational capacity to ensure this presence, he said. We are in the process of holding discussions, which are still fragile and provisional, with the Taliban regarding humanitarian evacuations to repatriate Afghan men and women at risk, said Macron. Evacuations are planned jointly with Qatar and may involve airlift operations, said Macron, adding that France had evacuated 2,834 people from Afghanistan since August 17th. Speaking to reporters in Baghdad, Macron said France would continue to deploy troops to Iraq to battle terrorism, even if the US were to withdraw from Iraq. Emmanuel Macron is so precise and reliable, perhaps even becoming predictable, at the point that you could almost set your watch by his movements in less than 48 hours after the Islamic terror bombing at the Kabul airports that killed 13 American military and over 170 civilians. Emmanuel Macron is in Baghdad, Iraq, holding a Middle East summit and negotiating with the Taliban. Any wonder why he is our #1 candidate for the biblical man of sin? Again, I beg to differ slightly that in that there is a very close candidate, as I said, who would also rank as #1 candidate. That would be Obama, operating from behind the scenes, operating from Biden's office. And 2 Thessalonians 2, verses 3 and 4 reads, Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And yesterday I put up a video showing you that the temple of God is now your body. Your body is the temple of God. And we read in, if I'm not mistaken, it was 2 Corinthians, that, or 1 Corinthians, I beg your pardon, that our body, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, and also in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, that we are the temple of God and the Holy of Holies resides in our brain, in our forebrain. Think about it. The crisis in Afghanistan directly touches America, UK, Germany, France, Italy. And yet, who is the man on the scene leading the charge? Emmanuel Macron. Yes, Emmanuel Macron is who we are seeing. But there is somebody else operating from the shadows. And one of those people operating in the shadows is very possibly Obama. Obama has never left. He is still there and he's operating from behind the Biden presidency. Walk away, Joe. The Biden is nowhere to be found. Macron hasn't let me down, not even once, from the time we began calling him the man of sin until right now, right here and now. And after this sup, Satan entered into him. Then said Jesus unto him, that thou doest, do quickly. That's John chapter 13, verse 27. And here they are calling Macron the Assyrian. As I have checked, and I believe it's in one of my videos which I had uploaded quite a while ago, that both Obama and Macron are descended from the Assyrian, and both are descended from Antiochus the Fourth. Your head will spin after you realize that Emmanuel Macron has both Jewish ancestry and inexplicable ties to Rome and the Assyrian Empire. But then again, so Obama has Jewish ancestry and he has inexplicable ties to the Assyrian Empire. France, in preliminary talks with Taliban over Afghan evacuations, says Macron, we are in the process of holding discussions, which are still fragile and provisional, with the Taliban regarding humanitarian evacuations to repatriate Afghan men and women at risk, he said. The evacuations are planned jointly with Qatar and may involve airlift operations, he said, adding that France has evacuated 2,800 people from Afghanistan since August 17th. Qatar has good contacts with the Taliban since Doha hosts a Taliban political office that negotiated the withdrawal of US troops from Afghanistan. Disclosure came at news conference in the Iraqi capital Baghdad, where Macron attended a regional security summit aimed at easing tensions in the Middle East and emphasizing Iraq's role as a mediator. But the Afghanistan crisis overshadowed the French president's news conference amid questions over US foreign commitments following its troops' withdrawal from Afghanistan. Speaking to reporters in Baghdad, Macron said France would continue to deploy troops in Iraq to battle terrorism, even if the US were to withdraw from Iraq. So, here, what he is saying can be briefly summed up as peace and safety. No matter what choices the Americans make, we will maintain our presence in Iraq to fight against terrorism, said Macron. Now, we have the operational capacity to ensure this presence, he said. The meeting came as Iraq's longest casualty of jihadist militancy also tries to establish itself as a mediator between Arab countries and Iran. We all know that we must not lower our guard because Daesh, the Islamic State group, remains a threat, and I know that the fight against these terrorist groups is a priority of your government, Macron said earlier, after a meeting with Iraqi Prime Minister Al-Kadhimi. Iraq and France are key partners in the war against terrorism, Kadhimi replied. So this so-called terrorism has been engineered, has been the result of the Arab Spring, it has been the result of the uh, the instability in the Middle East, which has been man-made. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Jordan's King Abdullah flew in to the summit, also attended by foreign ministers. They all participated in the summit. Oil-rich Iraq has been caught for years in a delicate balancing act between its two main allies, Iran and the US. Iran exerts major clout in Iraq through allied armed groups within the Hashd al-Shabi, a powerful state-sponsored paramilitary network. Iraq has been brokering talks since April between Saudi Arabia and Iran aimed at mending ties severed in 2016. It was really not easy to put the Saudis and Iranians in the same room, a French diplomat said. Macron aims to highlight France's role in the region and its determination to press the fight against terrorism. His office said the French president considers Iraq essential to stability in the troubled Middle East, it added. The Baghdad conference will make it possible to lay the framework for cooperation in the fight against terrorism, something that has been created by the global elite because they fund such factions like Hezbollah and other mercenaries. So personally, I see that Macron does not fulfill everything about being the Antichrist, about the would-be Antichrist, so to speak. In Revelation 17, we're going to go through a couple of key verses to underscore just that. In verse 5 we read, "And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, comma, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth." So as I already had said previously, this is referring to the United States. And United States is not Mystery Babylon. No, it's Babylon the Great. That's where it says mystery. Mystery. And you have a comma. You need to pause there. And then it says Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And that's understandable. We know that that pornography and child trafficking and pharmakia and human experimentation and all kind of filth comes from Babylon the Great. There's no doubt about it. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Now, when we read about the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, for me, I can see two instances. The woman in the past drunken with the blood of the saints was the Roman Catholic so-called church, where it's estimated between 50 to 100 million saints were martyred by Roman Catholicism, because many of them simply opposed Roman Catholicism and its doctrines, because they would not accept the authority of the Pope, and many of them owned the Bible, so they were executed. They were burned at stake, many of them. And it's estimated to be around 100 million. Right? Now, women drunken with the blood of the saints. At present, it's estimated there have been anything close to 60 million abortions on a daily basis, especially in Babylon the Great, abortions. And those are also innocent. That's innocent blood. So we can put that blood with the blood of the saints because the aborted fetuses are innocent. And there is going to be a future fulfillment of the woman drunken with the blood of the saints when Christians refusing to take the mark of the beast will be executed in concentration camps, so-called FEMA camps. And there shall be the beheadings. So that will be more blood flowing of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carried her, which had the 7 heads and 10 horns. So there's this woman who is sitting on the back of the beast, and there is the statue in front of the European Parliament in Brussels, Belgium. There's such a statue. You can Google it and you'll see it. There's a woman riding the beast, and the beast is the United Nations, which had the 7 heads and 10 horns. The 10 horns refer to the 10 regions. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. So again, we have a very similar sentence which we find in Revelation chapter 13 verse 18. In Revelation chapter 13 verse 18, the sentence begins, Here is wisdom. And then it goes on to say, it goes on to tell you how to be able to identify the mark of the beast by its name, by its number, and by its mark. It says, Here is wisdom. And again, here in Revelation 17, verse 9, again, listen to this. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. It requires wisdom. You need to have a knowledge of scriptures, and you have to research in order to be able to decipher who is the woman that sitteth on the 7 mountains. So let's read. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. We know that Rome sits on 7 hills. We also know that Washington sits on 7 hills. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Can we apply this sentence to Macron? And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. I have tried, and I cannot reconcile this verse to Macron in any way, but I can reconcile this verse to Obama because it's very possible. I'm not dogmatic, believe me, I'm just saying that the 7 kings could have been previous presidents, and it says 5 are fallen, okay, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And we know that when he cometh, he must continue a short space. We know that Trump had only 1 term, 4 years. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 80th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. I mean, even verse 11. I cannot reconcile it to Macron, because it says that the beast that was, he was a president. He completed 2 terms. Obama completed 2 terms. But right now is not. Even he is the 80th, because Trump was the 7th. And you may tell me, well, after Trump, Biden came on scene, but Biden is not the one who is pulling the strings in the White House. There's somebody behind him operating in the shadows, and that man of sin is operating the strings from the shadows, because he hasn't been revealed yet. And is of the 7, yes, he is of the 7, because he was, Trump was the 45th president, so Obama was the 44th president. And goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. 10 kings. It's possible that these 10 kings align with the 10 regions that have been assigned to the United Nations, and they have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, so that when the beast, the Antichrist, arises, they will receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, with the Antichrist. So these are yet to be revealed when the Antichrist is to be unveiled. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. They have a hive mind, and as you have noticed right now, the governments globally around the world, your government, my government, every country in the world, they have relinquished their authority, their own self-authority, and now they've relinquished that power to the beast. They are taking orders from the beast, who has not yet been unveiled. But it doesn't mean that they're not taking orders from the beast. They are all following the same playbook, the same rules, all of them. Verse 14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. That is you and me. We are called, we are chosen and faithful. We will not bow down to the beast, and nor to his system. So, in my opinion, it's possible that this article, I'm not saying that before it's news. I'm not saying that this website, Now the End Begins, are trying to deceive in no shape or manner. But the mainstream media are definitely going to highlight this event. They're going to highlight Macron's leading this summit in the Middle East, and it may be intended as a distraction from the real man of sin. It's a possibility. That's how Satan operates. Satan tells you to look somewhere, and he doesn't want you looking elsewhere. When we know who orchestrated this maneuver, I am convinced that Obama is behind this Afghan crisis and the pulling out of the US troops out of Afghanistan. It certainly wasn't Joe Biden's decision. So please, I urge you to share this video and subscribe and like. As I already stated previously, this channel is heavily shadow banned. For instance, I can tell you, there were so many likes after one day, and the following day, overnight, um, when I was, kind of looking to see how the video was doing, and I found that there was only one like. So somebody is messing with the stats of this video. This is heavily shadow banned, only one like. There were plenty of likes, all right, the night before, and then 12 hours later in the morning, they were all reduced to one like. This is ridiculous. Somebody is messing with the likes. Somebody is messing with the subscribers. Every time the number goes up overnight, I find that it's always returning to the same baseline level of it was 3 years ago. This is ridiculous. So this is heavy shadow banning. Please help me, support me by liking the video, sharing the video, and subscribing. God bless you all. And before I send you away, I just wanted to remind you that John chapter 14, verse 6, we read that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father except by him. In Romans chapter 10, verse 13, we also read that whosoever calleth upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. In Matthew chapter 22, verse 32, we read, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Folks, we are in the last of the very last days. What are you waiting for? Please call upon the name of the Lord Jesus Christ now, whilst he may be found. No one is promised tomorrow. No one is promised later. Later may be tragically too late. And one other point, because this has been laid on my heart, and I have been following a very good blog, a Christian blog, and a good channel lately. Discovered it just over a week ago. I wanted to tell you something about the snake bite. You know that recently there was the so-called approval of the snake bite, and that company, which begins with the P, they acknowledged that 50% of the snake bites were placebo. Now, as far as I know, a placebo is saline, which is water and salt. So that means that if that placebo indeed was 50%, as they are alleging, and that it contained saline, 50% of the people receiving the snake bite received no more than saline. So for those who are having abject remorse, all is not lost, because 50% they have a 50% chance of having received saline. The most important thing is that these people do not go and take the third snake bite, because I'm sure on the third time it will not be a placebo. They had to carry out the global experimental study in such a manner, i.e., they had to have a placebo controlled arm, and that's normally 50% of the group under experimentation, and the other 50% will receive the actual thing, or the actual snake bite. They had to do it because, first of all, number one, a phase 3 clinical trial is always carried out in such a manner, with a placebo arm that should be 50% placebo controlled and 50% of the rest of the people taking the actual thing. Also, a clinical 3-phase trial is expected to last 24 months. This has always been so with phase 3 clinical trials. 24 months. But for some reason, because we are in operating at warp speed, all right, that's the reason, because Satan is in a hurry and he's desperate and he knows that he's running out of time. He shortened the clinical 3-phase trial from 24 months to 1/3 of its time to 8 months. So that is the reason. I assure you that's why they shortened the phase 3 clinical trial to 1/3 of its time, because Satan is in a hurry. He's in a big rush. I wanted to say something else, but right now it escapes me. Ah, yes. Also, they had to use the placebo arm at 50%, because if they had given the snake bite to 100% of the people, the adverse reactions would have been double the amount, and we understand that the adverse reactions have reached over 1 million. So if they had given everybody the actual thing, the snake bite, they would have been double what we are being told. And the deaths would have been, which are in the thousands, obviously, without the placebo arm, the deaths would have been double the deaths which we are being told that they are. And we know that reporting to adverse events databases is at best between 1 to 10%. Okay? But you must realize that people are not going to be lucky, that those who received a placebo will not be doing so again on the 3rd and 4th and subsequent shots. Okay? Because now they have fast forwarded they have halted the clinical 3-phase trial by a so-called approval, and now they are not obliged to inject a placebo into anyone anymore, because they are not under phase 3 clinical trial conditions anymore. So if you are somebody who have received this thing, take it to the Lord. The Lord said he will have mercy upon whom he'll have mercy, and he will have compassion upon whom he'll have compassion. If the Lord is having mercy and compassion upon you, you may be one of those people who have received simply saline. There is hope for you. Pray, repent, and do not take any further snake bites. Stay away, stay away, stay away. Please share this message, because many people need to know this message. There were many people who have committed suicide because they have believed that everything is lost. But if those people, some of them have received a saline shot, it's not lost. So take it to prayer and the Lord. The Lord is merciful, and pray unceasingly. And stay on the path. Do not fall again. God bless you all.